Okay, everyone. Welcome to the East Bench Community Council meeting. It's April 21st at 7 p.m. and we're meeting virtually. I think last year we didn't have an April meeting because of the pandemic, or March or May. I'm not even sure when we started meeting again last year, but we're here this year. Let me share my agenda. My name is Amy Burrows, and I'm the chair of East Bench Community Council. Ooh. I should practice this part of the meeting so I'm a little bit more.
You can just hit F5 on your computer.
F5.
Unless you have a Mac.
I don't have a Mac. There we go. Okay, today's meeting. This is the same link that we're going to use for all of our meetings, hopefully, so you can just keep this one in your back pocket, and every third Wednesday of the month, follow that link to make this to come to this meeting. So today, let me introduce the board members that are in attendance. Like I said, my name is Amy Burrows, and I'm the chair of the East Bench Community Council. The first vice chair is Anthony Wright. Anthony, wave to everybody. Brooke Carrington is the second vice chair, and she's wearing a mask. She may be in public somewhere, so she might be breathing on people, but say hi, Brooke, when you have a second. Katie is our secretary. Yeah. There she is. Katie does notes and our minutes and all of this kind of stuff. She's a great secretary, the best one we've had since I've been here. Mark Overdevest is the treasurer. Say hi, Mark.
Amy, his Wi-Fi dropped, so he's trying to get back on.
Okay. He was here, he'll be back. We have three at-large members of our executive board. Diane Rivera. I don't know if I've seen Diane yet. Say hi. Dennis, I know, is here. I saw him. And Emily Lux. I don't know if I've seen Emily yet either. That's who's here today. Our email addresses are at the bottom of every agenda and minutes that I send. So if you need to write to any of us, our addresses are there. The email address for the entire group is ebcc.chair@gmail.com. I answer that one, but that's where you would write to if you have a question or you want to talk about something at a future meeting, or you want to take your name off our email list or put it on. Business items. Our next meetings are the third Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. So May 19th, June 16th, we're going to skip the meeting in July, have a meeting August 18th and September 15th. And hopefully one of those will be in person or outside at the library, something like that. We're going to try to figure that out. But we're also going to try to stay online, have an online presence too, a virtual presence. So the next thing to talk about is we need to say thank you. We have graduating executive board members today. This is our annual membership meeting, and so this is where we do elections to elect a new executive board. So we have three kind of graduating officers today. The first is let's talk about Brooke. She's the second vice chair. I don't know if Brooke is available to talk right now.
Yes, I am.
Brooke, you have a minute. What do you want to say in your parting words?
My parting words, handing the torch. You know, I don't know how long I've been on the community council, many years, and I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to be here and to be part of this community. I will continue to be part of the community for many, many years, and I have been really honored to get to know the people in our community and the people on our boards, the different boards that I've served with, and I feel so comfortable and confident with the board that is here and the new members who are going to be coming in. So thank you to everybody, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this. So thank you.
Thanks, Brooke. You've been awesome. Tell them what you're doing next. What's next on your plate?
Oh my gosh, I'm the incoming chair of the alumni board at the business school.
So we have
40,000 members who are alum of the business school, and it's a big job, and I'm really excited about it. So good timing.
Brooke, they're lucky to have you. You've been awesome.
Thank you.
You have the answers to so many questions, and you're thoughtful and all of that. So I really appreciate it. I have well, I'll tell you in a minute what your surprises. Next, let's talk to Dennis Ayer. Dennis, tell us your kind of parting words. You guys don't have to leave, but you also don't have to come to every meeting anymore. But Dennis, what do you want to say?
You're on mute, Dennis.
I can't hear you yet, Dennis. While we get Dennis online, there have been a couple messages in the chat that say, great service. Thanks to the retiring board members. Thank you. Graduating members.
Aimee, this is Patrick from the library.
Yeah.
If you need in the participant window, you can send a request to Dennis that he unmute himself and a pop-up window will appear that he can just click.
I did that.
Yeah, I did too.
Shoot.
Dennis, can you hear us?
Dennis, bottom left.
Ha ha.
There you go.
There we go.
Ha, ha.
There we go.
My computer was failing me. I couldn't go bottom left. I couldn't go to the top. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for their support. You've given the council and myself and the opportunity to serve as one of your officers. And it's been a rewarding, challenging, interesting 7 years that I've served. And my parting comments basically are relative to the potential issues that the council will face in the near future. And that is, number one, the city, the University Research Park, and developers have planned actions for our region and our community. I'm sorry about the phone. I guess we got it. Okay. But anyway, I wanted to review with you very, very quickly what is transpiring. The officers basically are on top of this, but I wanted all the residents to know that the city basically is proposing to rezone the entire city. And what that means is our area basically is zoned as a single family region. All the lots of the residential homes and so forth are single family. And with the rezoning that the city wants to do, they want to increase the density throughout the city. So they are planning to rezone all of the single family homes as multiple family lots, which means that basically all of your neighbors and yourself will be able to rent out your basements and so forth. Also means that developers will probably be able to come in and buy a house that's on sale next to your house, bulldoze it, and put up multi-family structures and so forth. The second thing that's happening in our region, very close to our region, is the massive redevelopment of the research park, where they're looking at potentially 8,000 to 10,000 residential units that they would be adding to that area. It's a small city. And the third thing is to talk about the developers that are looking with this rezoning to do more development and so forth. And probably more immediate is we have developers that are looking at like the Lamplighter Square and Foothill Village. And it sounds like they're interested in putting in condos, high-rise condos, and living residences at both of those places. So what does all that mean? It means increased traffic. It means more pollution, more noise, and parking on all of the streets out front, because the people that are renting out are not required to park off the street. So I see this as some monumental issues that if we want to maintain the living style that we've had with our single family dwellings and so forth, it will take a real effort to minimize or mitigate some of the factors that will impact our neighborhoods going forward. And I think it is very, very important that the members of the council recognize that all the officers will try their hardest and their darndest to mitigate the negative impacts that will be coming to our community. But unfortunately, a small number of people won't carry the same amount of weight as a massive turnout from our members. The city listens to numbers of people, whether it's letters or whether it's comments at their meetings. That's what they listen to. So I would urge everyone to become abreast of these issues that are facing the council, that you get your neighbors involved, and that the council, along with its members, take a very proactive stance on these issues going forward. Again, thanks so much. I've enjoyed it. And I'm sure I'll see some of you in the future because I'm not going to entirely disappear, but I do plan to full-time retire.
Nice. Dennis, yeah, you've been at this a long time in a couple different roles. I think Brooke too has had a couple different roles. I really appreciate all of the time and effort, the letters you've written, the good ideas you have, the meetings you've planned and been to. They're a big deal. And I have for you two, I've got the new Salt Lake City flag, a nice big Salt Lake City flag coming for you two. So I'll deliver that when it
Great.
out. So that'll
That's awesome. Thank
hang
you
that
so
up. That be proud to be in our great city. Is Emily here? Anybody see Emily? Anthony, do you see her? I haven't seen Emily for a little
I
bit.
have not.
She's she completed the last year of service in her position, and she teaches like a financial literacy class and stuff like that. So that may be where she is tonight. But Emily has been helpful as well. She was in charge of the University of Utah project when it was hot and heavy. So anyway, thank you guys. You've been great. It's been really good to work with you guys. And we'll miss you, but you can still come to our meetings. So there you go. Let's go back to what we have next is we have a report from the nominating committee. So every year we have to form a 3-person nominating committee to make sure that we have people to vote for, to recruit people to run for offices. And Brooke or Meg or Justin, do one of you guys want to present this nominating committee report?
I thought Meg or Justin either was going to do it. Are they here?
I'm here.
Hi,
It's
Meg.
Meg. I could speak for just a sec if you want me to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you
ahead,
see?
Meg.
Can you see the screen, Meg? I've got that report that you send me up on the screen.
Yeah, I can see the screen. Yes. And is this the nominating report we sent to you?
Yes.
Okay, so just really quickly, there were 3 of us, Brooke, Justin, and myself. And we met with 3 candidates for Catherine Bullock, Jason Cohen, and David Letta. I hope I said that right. And we had great talks with each of them, and they all meet the requirements. And so we are very happy to recommend them to fill those openings. And then we also individually spoke with Mark and Diane, and they're going to be moving from one position to another on the board. And we heartily recommend that. That's a great plan also. So those are our thoughts, and we think it's a great new addition for the board.
Thanks, Meg and Justin and Brooke, for taking time to do those interviews and meeting with these guys. Brooke, do you want to make a motion? And if you do that, you need to read which 5 offices we're looking at.
Sure. I make a motion that Mark be moved to the 2nd vice chair, and that Diane move from the at-large representative to be the treasurer, and that Catherine and David and Jason be the candidates for the at-large positions.
I second that, Brooke.
Thanks, Anthony.
Okay. Well, let's take a vote, and this will be your actual vote to put those nominated individuals into these spots. So, and I also want to mention that our bylaws have term periods that are like half of the at-large representatives are reelected on even years and half are on odd years, that kind of stuff. So this won't change the term. So you're electing some people to a 1-year term, some people to a 2-year term. Does that make sense? That's outlined in our bylaws, and we don't want to change those dates because it offsets those. At any rate, I'm going to stop sharing, and now we're going to ask for a vote. Our bylaws allow you to vote by voice or by hand. So if you're in favor of those nominations, voting for them, please raise your hand. And to raise your hand, it's at the bottom of your screen. There's a reactions button. You can click on raise hand. If you're on the phone, you can raise your hand by hitting *9.
Yeah.
If you don't live in our community council area and you don't own property in it, then you shouldn't vote. So some of our guests won't be voting. But if you live in East Bench Community Council, you should vote. And I'll just leave that open for a while. Keep your hand up while we move on to the next thing. So far, I have a unanimous vote for, but we've got 28 participants and 15 votes. So hit #9 on your phone to raise your hand if you want to. Oh. Thank you, Joan.
Amy, we got a majority at this point.
Yeah, we really do. Oh yeah, there's not even enough people to vote against that. So, well, congratulations, you guys. That's really exciting. So we've filled out kind of the top of our bracket, although it doesn't really work like that, with people who've been on the board before, and then 3 new at-large representatives to our executive board. So congratulations, David and Jason and Catherine. I'm so sorry. I know your name starts with a C, but I can't remember what it is. I should have been to these. I should have been to these interviews so I could know who you are. So go ahead. I'm asking you to unmute and tell us your name and something about you, so we know what's going on.
This is Jason.
I'll start. Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, thanks, David. I'm Jason Cowan. I have a small business here in the Salt Lake Valley. It's in Salt Lake County, but I've been living in Salt Lake City for many years. I'm actually just coming up on living on a year here in the East Bench Community Council area, but I was just in Sugar House for many years before that, and happy to be involved and meet more of my neighbors and represent all of us with our issues that are brought to our attention. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jason.
Hello, everyone. My name's David Lita. I know it doesn't look like it's pronounced that way, but it is actually the way you pronounce my last name. It's Lita. I was raised on the East Coast in Rochester, New York. I've lived in Salt Lake City since 1973. My wife and I moved here in that year to attend graduate school at the University of Utah. And we've had our careers and we've lived and worked in this community and we've raised our children in this community ever since 1973. I graduated with a law degree from the University of Utah in 1976, and I've practiced law that entire time, and I'm still practicing, although my role has changed from partner to of counsel in the last 3 years. I'm currently an attorney at Snell and Wilmer, where I've practiced since 1992. And I was at my own firm for a number of years and with other law firms before that. I have lived in this community council district since 1992. Actually, it's probably since 1982, but I've lived in our current residence since 1992. And I think it's a unique gem as a residential area in our community. And I agree with Dennis in that it faces a number of challenges. I'm not an anti-development kind of person, but I do believe in sensible, common sense development that supports the character and culture and feel of the neighborhood, which we all have come to live in and enjoy. I hope through my service on this community council, I can do a small part to help preserve that feel and maintain it, while I also recognize that there probably will be changes to the community, just as there have been in the last 50 years. And hopefully that will all work to our mutual advantage. So thank you for the opportunity to serve, and I look forward to meeting all of you, getting to know you better, and hopefully seeing you in person, not too in the near future.
Thank you, David.
And my name is Catherine Bullock. I have lived with my husband Roger in this community since 1984. I share David's feelings about the community, and I appreciate Mr. Ayers' recap on the challenges that we face. I'm looking forward to serving and seeing what I can do to help the East Bench Community Council give our residents a voice. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in person. I think we'll actually have an outdoor meeting one of these days. Our next officers meeting is 6 p.m. on May 3rd. So if you're on the executive board, that meeting's coming up. I'll send you a Zoom link to it, okay? So I'll email you for all the next stuff that we have to do. Thanks so much, you guys, for voting and for volunteering to serve on the board with us. Let's see what the next thing we have to do is. And thank you, Meg and Brooke and Justin. Oh, okay. The next thing we're talking about is the cell towers. So, sorry, I'm out of control. Are the cell tower presenters here? Any sign of the cell tower presenters? No. Okay. I kind of booked them through an agent. I'm just kidding. Through somebody. I didn't actually talk to them, so that message may not have gotten to them. But I have their presentation that we can watch. These two are members of the Historic Gilmer district, and so they're in ELPCO, which is the East Liberty Community Organization, and they did a really great presentation. So let's just watch their presentation since they are here. Sorry, there's an ad for a second. Can you guys hear this okay?
No.
I can't hear it.
Can't hear it.
It sounds like mumbling in the background.
Yeah.
Well, shoot. Do you have any ideas, Anthony? This is just a link to a video on YouTube. I can just send the link out.
I could help you on Teams because that's what I use for work. But on here, is there an option to share audio?
No.
So
Okay.
like next to where you share your screen, maybe under advanced sharing options. not seeing it. Sorry,
I
Amy.
didn't rehearse that very well. So, okay, I'll put a link to it in the minutes, and you can watch it. It's really interesting. It's about 5G cell towers. Well, let me show you. I did some research on this too, so I want to show you what I found out. These two did a lot of research about what kind of permits are needed to put up a cell phone tower, where they're planned to be put in, and this kind of stuff. So I looked up the Verizon 5G, because 5G is like a higher powered or a different wavelength. It doesn't travel as well through hills and buildings and that kind of stuff, so they have to put their towers for it closer together. This is a map of the East Bench Community Council, our geography over here. And you can see that we already have 5G nationwide coverage throughout our area, except for this little space over here on 2600 East between Wasatch, south of where Blaine comes in. You guys recognize that little piece of map over there? I don't know why there's not coverage for 5G right there. I looked it up on a regular map and I don't recognize it as, I thought maybe it's where the big church was or something, but it's not. I think it's just houses are there and they don't have 5G coverage there. So I don't know if that indicates that there could be a tower going in there or something like that. We'll see. I don't know. That's what it looks like here. And then I looked at where there are 4G tower, 5G towers. They have to be permitted, but they go in the easement, kind of in the right of way easement, which is usually in your front yard, kind of in your parking strip. And these are all of the permits for Verizon that are in our area code, but none of them are in our geography for the East Bench Community Council. You can see they're up on Wacara Way or Comus Drive, Sunnyside, Guardsman, Arapine. None of them are in our geography, and I haven't seen any here. They're really distinctive because they're tall. It's a monopole. They can be up to 30 feet. They have kind of a box that looks like at the bottom, they look like a utility pole, and at the top, they kind of get wider and they're black, the ones that I've seen. So if you have any questions, or if you get notice that one of these is coming to your yard, will you please let me know as soon as possible so we can kind of help see what we can do to make sure that it doesn't disrupt your property. Because there's a story in this link that I'll send out that's pretty interesting about a guy who got it put in his front yard, even though there was kind of space in his parking, in that little parking strip. Mark, do you want to tell, you also did some research on that. Do you want to tell us what you found out?
Amy, I'm not sure if he was able to get back on. I guess Arcadia has a pretty big power outage right now.
Oh, a power outage?
Yeah, he says 140 houses are affected.
Oh, we lost all of our southern neighbors.
He was trying to call in on his cell phone, but I'll see if I
Well,
can.
shoot, he did some research too. He called that Chris that I listed as a contact, and who said that they never go in your backyard. Those towers always go in your front yard, and they don't have to be permitted more than like a week ahead of time. Go ahead.
Amy, this is Dan Dugan.
Yeah, Dan, tell us what you know.
So I sent out to all the community chairs the current ordinance of where they are allowed or authorized to be put in your right-of-way strip. And there's a page there with a map of it, but basically they should not be put or authorized to be put in the from your front of your house, whatever is deemed to your front of your house, straight perpendicular to the street. So if you take your front of your house and you go out to the street, they should not be able to, they're not authorized to put a pole there. It has to be greater than, I think, 5 feet from the driveway and 15 feet from a tree. I can resend it to the chairs because it has a very good distinct location they can put it in. They can put it in between the property lines of the two houses of you and your neighbor, if there's not a driveway or something like that. So those are the areas where they can put it. Now, realize you may have the house across your street may get a pole because it's not in the front of his house or their house, but it is in the front of your view. So you have to realize that, they could get a pole across the street from you. The city is looking into changing the ordinance on where the poles go, because realize this is Verizon's poles. There's going to be 4 or 5 different suppliers, providers, and they all get to have their own poles. So it's a big deal. And the city's looking at changing the ordinance and changing the incentive to put them on street lights, on traffic lights, trying to combine them with some other pole, because they are kind of obnoxious. And then we're also looking at, there's some lawsuits going on around the world, around the United States. I think there's one with the Ninth Circuit, and we're seeing if we could join with that. And though we're not part of that circuit, we can join the lawsuit to see about having the city have more power than the provider. And that's ongoing now, because I've had the conversations with our city attorney, and hopefully they're having conversations with FCC experts in the field.
Good. Dan, fight that fight for us. They're not great looking. And I hope, since we already have coverage, that maybe we don't need a lot of poles in our neighborhood. Mark, you're on now. Do you want to say what you found out when you called?
Yeah, forgive me, guys. Power outage. Great timing at 7:04. But back on, I did talk to that gentleman, and he said that, forgive me if Dan already covered this, but the only towers that are going in are actually on Foothill. There's a couple on Foothill. Nothing is slated, at least with Verizon, for the East Bench at this time. I had concerns because I have an easement in my backyard that for power lines and so forth, and I was concerned that they might plant a pole back there. And I think Dan already covered this, but it has to be in the front yard. So they cannot put it in the backyard, at least at this time, is what I was told.
Yeah, they can't put it but they cannot also put it in the front of your view of your house, perpendicular. So if the side of your house, like I live on a curve of the street, so the side of my house where my garage is the side of my house. They could actually put, if my driveway wasn't there, they could put one there, because it's not looking out the front of the house. So you're correct. Utah's not in the Ninth Circuit, but they're the ones who are the lawsuit. So we're just looking to see if we can join some type of lawsuit with them. But you're right, we're not in the Ninth Circuit. That's correct. I also want to say you're correct also that right now it's only 48 hours notice to 72 hours notice that they have to provide you. And the reason for that is because of all these providers, they want to keep it quiet on where they're putting the poles, so that the other ones doesn't put the poles there. So they're in a competition there. So we're looking at our ordinance. Can we change that to make it, up to a week or a week and a half, so you can have a little more knowledge or heads up that it's going to go into your neighborhood or into your house. This is all.
The presentation I'll share also has a testimonial from somebody who lives in the East Liberty Park community organization area, and they put a pole in his yard, and it was a bit of a nightmare. So
yeah.
If you hear that a pole is going in your yard, if you get notice of that, will you let us know or let Dan know or something, so we can, I don't know what we'll do. Stand around your house holding hands or something. But.
And Amy, let me know if you can't find that one email with the location of where they could put it.
Yeah, I will. Okay, up next now we have Detective Meinzer, who is our neighborhood officer.
Yeah,
F5.
thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Detective Meinzer. So I am the Liberty Division Community Liaison Officer that kind of reorganized how we do things. So I now cover districts 5, 6, and 7. Thank you for pulling up those stats. So I wanted to kind of real briefly go over the stats of what we've got in your specific neighborhood in East Bench, and then kind of open up to questions, concerns, and if there's things you guys would like to talk about or that you're worried about or would like to see us do differently, that's kind of what we can do. So if we go ahead and look in the numbers, obviously we're pretty good for numbers wise when it comes to our stats compared to the rest of the city, as well as the rest of the district. I did want to go into detail on the larceny/theft. So I know that 7 looks like a really big number, but when you actually look at all the individual calls for service that make up that number, it's not like 7 car prowls or anything like that. So we did have 2 burglaries of homes. There was no forced entry, so they were unlocked homes. We did have 1 car prowl. There was 1 incident where there was mail that was stolen. There was 1 instance where something was stolen from a yard, and then there was a shoplift from a business. And then there was 1 stolen vehicle. So that's kind of the numbers behind that number to kind of go into more depth. So you guys kind of are more aware of what's going on. And then with the other offenses, with the 6 number there, so that kind of covers everything from an ambulance coming out to like a civil case where maybe it could be like a neighbor dispute that's not necessarily, breaking any laws or anything, but we end up getting called out and have to write a report to just document that, there's this dispute and they're going to have to handle it civilly. It can cover runaways, things like that. Another thing that I did want to bring up, though, is we did have some suspicious activity. There were 2 different cases that were reported that were very, very helpful. So that was where a citizen called in, was like, hey, here's some suspicious activity. And I believe that both of them were actually related to people that were kind of looking in cars and things like that. And it gave us good suspect information. So they made it all the way through reports and made it all the way back to me and to our comp stat folks. So thank you guys for always having that tight-knit community and looking out for each other, because that information is very helpful when you guys do call us. So that's kind of the numbers. If you look at the rest of District 6, so right now we're looking fairly good numbers wise. Our motor guys have been playing catch up with all the motor requests. So as you can see, we're up to 91 citations issued in March, up from our previous in February of 54. So they had been working every single protest last year. They're required to kind of provide that safety bubble for protesters. Speaking of which, we had one last night and there are more on the horizon. So they may be kind of tied up between the 2 things, but they've been having to try and play catch up with every citizen complaint about traffic. So if you in the past several months have put in a request for traffic enforcement, they're now starting to try and catch up on that. There have been concerns where they hadn't been doing them. It's just because they hadn't gotten caught back up yet. So they're kind of working hard on those. The vandalism cases I did want to talk about. I've been seeing some fences in the rest of the district. Kids are kind of playing that game again where they jump through the fences. It's a different group of kids than we identified last year. So we're working on dealing with that issue. Obviously, parents can be held liable for their children's behavior. So when it does go to court and everything, there can be fines essentially put against for the victims to have that repaid. So if you know anybody that has young kids that might be playing the TikTok game, just kind of give them a heads up that they'll probably end up having to pay for those fences. And I'd like to open it up to questions, concerns, comments, if anyone has any.
Detective, this is Dennis. Thank you for preparing those statistics. I was wondering, for District 6, you also show for comparison purposes, like we've always done in the past, what it was for in 20 also. But for our area, the column for 20, one of the months is not filled in. Is it possible to fill that in going forward so we have some way of really comparing what it is today versus a year ago?
Yeah, for like doing the previous year. Yeah, I can do that. So what I do every month is Aimee and I, we talk, and I pull the stats myself specifically for your community. That way you can kind of get that small picture. I can include that for the next ones and just continue to make that the norm so we can compare to previous year.
That'd be great. Appreciate it.
A little extra time, but I can do that.
Thank you.
The way that I prepare those reports is I take everything has changed. So Detective Meinzer really is going out of his way to do this query for me. I usually just take the report that I prepared from last year, but I didn't do a crime report for this time last year because there was a pandemic and we didn't have meetings. So that's why that's missing for this month. But for every month that I have that information, I will definitely try to record it. I just noticed there's another typo in that report too, where it was supposed to be from March 2020 and it says February, I think. At any rate, I'll try to fix it. I need to be more on the ball with my numbers, getting those right, because mine does go out of his way to help me out with that. I appreciate it.
I guess no other questions.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks. You're off the hook. Thank you very much. Now we have, I believe that is the mayor next. Jamie, are you next or Dan? One of you two.
I was next, but I do see a question from Thomas, it looks like.
Yep, Thomas does have his hand up.
Just real quickly, thank you, officer. One of the things that I've noticed is that there are people who sleep down in the dog park parking lot. And what I've noticed in the past that there's actually been appreciable progress made on is that there seem to be a lot of drug dealing done down there. Now, it appears that the drug dealing is no longer being done. But there's still occasionally people who will stay a few nights in that parking lot. And I appreciate any time that someone has time to patrol it. I know it's not high priority, but it's very much appreciated that that's been watched.
Yeah, I can go in and I can update our patrol check request for our patrol officers. So kind of what we've been doing is anytime that I have hot spots, especially when it comes to like evening time things, I go on what's called Smart Force, and it's how I can pass along information to the whole department and anyone working different areas. So if you work in that beat, it will basically show, hey, you've got this property check that's requested by me, and here's the details about it. So I'll go in and I'll update that to let people know that there is a lot of camping occurring. And so we'll kind of see what we can do to help deter some of that.
I think as much as anything, I'd like to thank you for the way that it has been handled because it's better. And so keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, I will jump in unless there are more questions for Detective Meinzer. I just have to say Detective Meinzer is the gold standard. He is just so responsive. I work with him and I know Councilmember Dugan enjoys working with him as well. So if you have any questions that you couldn't ask tonight, just send him an email. He'll get right back to you. He's awesome.
I paid her to say that. I paid
Say
her.
it too. Send me a check. You're awesome.
Well, I thought that I had discounts with you though, Amy.
Send you a flag sometime.
Yeah, but anyway, moving to the mayor's updates. Personal update, I just got my first COVID shot, so I'm really excited. Feel very exhilarated. And I'd encourage all of you guys to get your shots if you haven't already. I just went to the Salt Palace and it was super easy and quick. I'd recommend that. Aside from that, in the city, we are seeing a plateau of new cases. We had been seeing a downward trend. Right now we're plateauing. We're happy with that. We want to keep moving downward, but a plateau is better than moving in the upward direction. 84101, excuse me, is still a zip code that has a higher than average case rate. And we are working with the county to try to do outreach about testing as well as vaccinations in that zip code. We are also, as a state, at 1.3 million doses, I think first doses of the vaccine administered. So that's exciting. And I know in the city council meeting this week, the mayor discussed with the council members about possibly passing a land use request that would allow businesses and retail, small businesses, so restaurants and retail operations to continue to expand their outdoor dining and shopping even after the mask mandate ends. So that will be coming down the docket. We're excited about that. We still encourage everyone to be vigilant, keep wearing masks, even if you're vaccinated, and hopefully we will continue to see plateauing and a decrease overall in cases. And then I've been updating you all on homelessness in the city and about the community commitment program, which is the city's and our partners' approach to dealing with larger encampments that kind of become public health and safety issues. So most recently, the city and the county and our partners worked on a resource fair in the Fleet Block area. And the Fleet Block is on 300 West, 9th South. That's where a lot of those murals have gone up about police brutality. So just so you're familiar with the area. So as a result of those efforts with us and other community partners working in the homelessness space, we can report 25 more people were vaccinated that were living in that camp. The Justice Court worked with 5 individuals to help them get warrants resolved. Workforce Services was able to engage with 19 individuals at the camp, and Odyssey House, which is an addiction treatment center, engaged 10 people living at the encampment. So we are happy with the results there, and the health department was able to go in and clean up some of the environmental hazards that were kind of accumulating there. And maybe not in this meeting, but because we're kind of maybe running short on time, I want to leave Councilmember Dugan some time. But if you have questions about the community commitment program or homelessness, I'm happy to go more in depth with any of you. And as I've mentioned before, I think we are looking at including residents. If you are interested in volunteering with homeless individuals, the city should have some opportunities in the near future, which I'll update you on. And then finally, Earth Day is tomorrow. We are continuing on our efforts to plant 1,000 trees per year on the west side of the city. And also, I'd encourage you all to look at the Public Lands and Trails website. We have a really robust volunteer program to help clean up trails and parks in your area. So if you're interested in getting outside tomorrow for Earth Day, I can send the link to you all. There are a lot of opportunities. You can be outdoors, socially distanced, getting rid of myrtle spurge and other invasive plants, and just doing general cleaning, which is so important to the maintenance of our trails. So those are my main updates for you all. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you don't, I'll just throw it back over to Councilmember Dugan. And Katie, I will send you the stats that I mentioned and the links.
Well, thank you, Jamie, and good evening, everybody. Councilmember Dugan here. I'm down in St. George in a hotel room. We attending the Utah League of Cities and Towns conference tomorrow and Friday. So I'll get my fair share of update of local politics. There's 3 members of the city council down here with me for the 2-day conference. Last night, we had a pretty good, robust discussion on different topics at the city council meeting. And we also said farewell to Andrew Johnston. It was his final meeting, final night as a council member. He will be moving over across the hallway or down the hallway to work with the mayor as the senior advisor to homelessness. I think his title is very long, but he's going to be focusing on homelessness. And so his current day job is with the Volunteers of America. He is a clinical social worker. He understands homelessness. That's his passion. And it's sad to see him depart the city council. But we're also very happy that he's going to the position he is with the mayor's office, because this one fits him very well, and he is the right person for this job. So we're blessed to have him go there. and we're sad to have him leave. He was even though we only met on occasions, I'd have a cup of coffee with him on occasions, and he was a very good mentor. He was quiet, but he asked great questions. He made great points. So we're sad to have him leave the city council, but we're happy that he's on the homeless. We also voted for ranked choice voting without a primary last night. And that will be going forward this year. So stepping back to Andrew's position, Andrew, city council will appoint a new council member to replace Andrew Johnston, but that position will also be up for election this November. Because he has more than 2 years left in his term, they have to re-elect someone for that position, and they will serve for the remainder of his term. So up for this election period are the odd districts plus Mr. Johnson's position. So districts 1, 3, 5, and 7 are up for election, and they will be ranked choice voting this year. So that's a big deal for the city. Last night, we also had a great brief on the police audit. Last year, about this time, the city council said, hey, we want to have an audit of the police department's budget, do a zero-based budget, and also look at other recommendations we can for the police department. This is, we knew it was a big task, and there was going to be a lot of recommendations. And so last night we had a briefing on the audit, some recommendations on what we want to do for the budget side of the house, because the budget and how they charge things isn't very well lined out. And we want to make sure it's also lined out with a new ERP system so that we are budgeting in the correct fashion and we're doing that correctly. But we also had a lot of operational recommendations from them coming from, and I'm just going to read down a list of different things. Adding civilian first responders instead of having police do all the first responders, maybe a civilian can do the responding to pull so that the officer doesn't have to do that, because it's something that we don't need an officer to go to. Looking at how the CIT program, the mental illness program is run, and how we do our internal affairs project and a number of other things. So they came up with a lot of recommendations, and now we've asked them to say, hey, what's the priority? How can we do these things in parallel or in series and move forward from there? So that was a great briefing. We have a lot more to do and a lot more to come, and because there's a lot to digest there on the police audit. But we're excited about that, and we're excited about continuously moving on and along with the Racial Equity in Policing Commission. We had a briefing on the airport budget, and we had a briefing on the library budget. And the airport side of the house, good news is they're ahead of schedule now because they were able to tear down the old airport completely. They should be up and running and full operational on both concourses by the end of 2024. So that'll help us out. The walks will probably still be long, but they're saving a lot of fuel, which is then keeping our air cleaner. So that was a big deal on the airport side of the house. If anybody has any questions about Lamplighter, I can touch base on Lamplighter, and is that a yes, Amy? Yeah. So I did talk to the developer last week about Lamplighter, and so they are moving forward with keeping the two area zones separate. So their first task is to work with the liquor store and the north side, where the old liquor store was, where the Blue Bistro was, that section of that zoned area. And they got to work on that area first. First, because the liquor store is pushing them to get the new liquor store in, but they're going to look at the commercial side first. And then the second side would be the southern side, would be the residential side. They're giving me numbers, and it's all going to be within the zoning ordinance. They're looking at possibly 80 units there. But their idea is that they're going to keep it within the zoning ordinance at this time. That's that one is secondary. They have a lot of other projects on their plate. So their first order of business is the commercial side. And then later on would be on the residential side.
And Dan, I texted you about this the other day, but we're still concerned that they're going to increase traffic on 17th South, buy that residential property and turn it into a driveway for the.
Yeah, he did.
They admit any of that?
They didn't say, they didn't, I asked him about that unit and he didn't give me a response of using it. They said they bought it, but they don't have an idea what they're doing with it right now.
Oh, they've purchased it.
Well, again, he said they were thinking of it or they're going to, but he wasn't committal about that also. But he did, his commitment was that this is secondary to the commercial side of the house. So it's not going to be happening in the near future.
Well, we're not going to forget because we kind of hate that idea. So.
Oh yeah, I had a conversation with him a little over a month ago, and this is my second one, and in a couple more weeks, I'll have another conversation with him.
Thanks, I appreciate you.
Oh yeah,
taking our side on it.
Yeah.
Dan, do they have a new drawing?
Sorry, Dennis. I was looking for you to look at the screen. They did not have a new drawing. They're staying within the zoning requirements, so it will just go to the planning. It will not come to the city council if it stays within the zoning ordinance.
So, okay, so what you're saying is they're not asking for any exceptions at all? Zero?
At this time, I will never say never on that side of the house. At this time, they're not asking for any exceptions. That's what they're telling me. At this
if
point.
They do ask for any variances or
Yes.
Anything like that, changes to zoning, we'll find out because we're the officially recognized community organization. We'll find out the same way we did about the Immigration Overlook or.
Yeah, but because that's been a point that I've been talking to them about, Dennis, that exact thing. And are they asking for any variance? And right now, they're saying no.
And they've made the point.
They haven't brought anything to the planning commission yet, and they haven't put in any building things, because the first thing they have to do is the Blue Bistro. It's one building with Taqueria 27, and they got to be able to cut off the utilities through the building and do some other stuff before they can lay out the plat for the liquor store. So they have a lot of work for them on the commercial side, the north side of North Lot.
And they've said before that if they don't have to come to us, they don't necessarily want to. He said that. So if they aren't going to ask for a variance or a change in zoning or something like that, they're just going to build totally according to the rules of what that property is right now, then they can do it without telling us. But I'll continue to try to engage them, and I'm glad that they're talking to Dan. So
yes.
Dan, to be
yes.
clear, were you saying that 80 units is permissible without a variance?
I didn't look into the exact number, but I think there's probably is a requirement that says, yes, they could have 80 units. And I didn't question it because they have to go to the planning on that side of the house. I didn't count it up, but their very first time they came to the East Bench back in the library, it seemed like about 3 decades ago. I think they had about 80 units then.
I don't remember.
But but that's what they're just telling me right now, Mark, is that that's their count.
Okay.
I have asked for them to, because of affordable housing is a concern across the city for us, that if they could add some units that are affordable housing.
Catherine, do you have a question?
You're muted, Catherine.
Dan, if they could give us a drawing, if they've gone down to 80 units, they were at, I believe, 135. So I'm wondering if they're at 4 stories instead of 5.
No, they still, in that, on that side, Andrew, or Anthony, you could correct me. I think it's 25 feet is the max height on the CB side of the house, CB zone.
So, yeah, so I think the side where like the Skyline Inn and like the current little apartment and the Girls on the Run, that's all CN zone. So I don't think any multifamily is allowed on CN, but CB, it allows multifamily, and it would be right up next to the other apartment building, which would make sense in my mind. So the CB section is the northmost section, and the CN zone doesn't allow multifamily, but it does allow, I think, up to 25 feet. And I think CB, if I am thinking right, I think that's up to like 30 something.
I think it's 35, 25, but they're
Yeah.
not asking for anything else. Now, again, because of the slope of the grade and the slope of the plot, that's probably from the high point is 25 feet. So
It moves with the grade. When I've been building stuff, it's as the grade steps, so does the height. My understanding.
So they're looking at not having to do one, so they have to maintain that height. So they're, unless they want a variance, then they have to come back to the council.
Okay.
Catherine, I'm
Dan?
happy to reach out to them, and I'll just ask nicely if they have a drawing of it, of where stuff is gonna go. Like, where are they gonna put the liquor store and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the liquor store is going right where the Blue Bistro was.
Dan, Dan, I have a further question. On the house that they have a right to buy or already have bought, would they have to come to the council for approval to use that and change it to commercial?
Oh, yeah, because it's a single family zoned house. They'd have
Okay.
to come, yeah, oh, yeah, that's, as others would say, that unless they're trying to do an end run of the city, if they need,
Yeah, are they? I mean, can they? Is that a route?
I don't know. I can ask my RDA people, but at this time, I don't know. I know there's a question out there for that. But I've also heard that, again, I can't speculate on that. At this
Okay.
point.
So it's my understanding if the state buys it or works with them to buy it, because the state has a higher authority than the city, I think the way around it is they could do a lot line adjustment and then route it to 17th and just bypass the city process.
Yeah, and I don't know if the state's into buying a property either, so, it's a pretty good sized property for the state to buy when the state doesn't need it.
So we'll continue to ask questions. I'm glad they're still talking to Dan. I can write and ask nicely if they have plans or a construction schedule or something like that, so we know when demolition will happen or.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
so the demolition for the liquor store they're gonna try to have that happen as soon as possible, so they can level that area, but everything else west of that lot will stay around. So Tuckville 27 will be open. But that's their press. Their press south of that is they're not focused on that right now.
Did they
Yes,
tell you,
Martha?
Dan, did they tell you from start to finish what time was going to be involved?
And no, they didn't have any timeline on the residential side of the house. And the commercial side of the house, he did not give me a timeline.
Okay.
They still have to go
Dan.
yeah.
Thanks for doing that conversation. What else?
Research Park, we're looking
Yeah.
at, we have
Yeah.
a few more, I think hopefully Jonathan will give us an update on it in a few months. And nothing's really changed there. They're still, I think going to the trustees right now. Nothing is as far as the Research Park side of the house is concerned.
Which means, Dan, for quick history, they proposed this 10,000 units, like a big
Yeah.
development with tall buildings, like curb to curb and all that kind of stuff. But have they like rescinded that plan for right now?
They are really looking hard again at the housing side of the house. Now, they also went from a 25, 50-year master plan down to a 10-year master plan because they realized that after 10 years, it becomes really hazy and foggy, and there's no sense in trying to go any further than that. realize that, go back 50 years and
Yeah.
did you think we were here? No. So go back 10 years and there's a little bit difference there. So they changed that master plan to a 10-year plan. So that's reduced the number of units of housing, and it's also changed some other different things. So we're working with on that part. They're also working on the West Village, which is on the other side of Foothill, the area just next to the VA hospital. They're pretty much demolishing that right now. They got bids going out for redevelopment and making it a denser, smaller area, but then opening up the rest of the area. And so taking everything that was in the West Village and compacting it into a much smaller, tighter housing. And then they're going to reevaluate, do they need more housing? Because realize that no developer wants to build one extra room if he can't sell it. And they don't want to have one extra parking lot unless they can use it. Because a parking lot costs them about 30 grand per parking lot. And an extra room, if it's empty, doesn't do them any good. So this university doesn't want more housing if they can't fill it. So that's on and this is on the family housing side of the house, the student family housing side of the house. And on the Research Park side, if you look at Research Park now, it is a parking lot, basically a parking lot. So we want to get rid of the parking lot. We want to be smart with our efficiency there, but we got to work on the transportation mode. And this is what I keep on telling everybody, that the UDOT, UTA, the city, WFRC, is that if we don't bring the transportation up at the same time as the development, we're not helping ourselves. We're going to make it much more difficult. So I'm fully focused on a transportation node, a multimodal node in the Research Park area. But I am definitely cognizant of Dennis is concerned about the housing. But I don't think right now it's a 10-year plan, and it's not nearly the 8 to 10,000 that they proposed early on about 6 months ago or 8 months ago. That has dramatically come back.
Good.
We should get an update from them, Jonathan Bates, in the next hopefully 2 months or so.
Okay,
Dan?
John Wonderly has a question. John, your turn to talk.
Dan, do you have any insight or update on the Overlook?
On the Overlook. Oh, the Donner Overlook?
Yeah.
I do not. I wasn't in attendance of that meeting because I was at a different event. I spoke with Jonathan and I spoke with Aimee about the Overlook meeting, and I have a meeting with the city attorney and Paul Nielsen, hopefully next week or so, to discuss what we can do on that one. And I've been asking to have a meeting with Katie Lewis, the city attorney, for a couple of weeks now. And now that the oral argument against the Supreme Court, which is the next thing I'll talk about, is over, she might have some time to talk about the Overlook. But I have no more information on the Overlook except for the last briefing from Jonathan, which was last week. But that is definitely on the top of my radar too, and I'm keeping abreast of that one. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Dennis, did you have another question?
Oh yeah, Dennis did.
It's been discussed in the East Bench Master Plan Group that our position ought to be that all the mass transit connection to the redeveloped Research Park should be in place before they start construction of anything else. Is that your position on it, or has that changed?
Oh no, I wanted it either before or in parallel with it, because if we wait for years after the development comes around, no one's going to want to take mass transit. You want to bring it on up at the same time. That's why part of my goal being down here is to see if anyone from the WFRC is here, to have a conversation with Andrew Gruber, to have a conversation with other Mayor Silverstrini and some others about transportation on the east side. And I've had conversations with UTA and I've had conversations with UDOT on making sure we have that transportation hub thought of and hopefully some types of funding there so we can put it up in place, because it's a long-term process here to put something like that in place, because it takes a lot of money to do that. But yes, Dennis, that's a big focus of mine.
Thank you.
So I'm talking a hell of a lot, sorry. Inland Port, the oral argument for the Inland Port lawsuit was this morning at 10:30. The city attorney, Samantha Stark, presented her side and the state presented their side this morning. I listened to it, pretty impressive. Our city attorney is pretty impressive. They asked some tough questions of the state. Personally, I didn't think the state did a very great job of answering the questions, but I'm sorry, David, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the Supreme Court's going to say here, but they had some great questions from the Supreme Court. And I think it's probably after the summer recess is when they'll probably come out with their judgment. But it was pretty impressive talk.
Yeah, can't help you much there. There is really no rule that requires the court to make a decision within any period of time after argument. It's totally within their discretion. So it could be weeks, it could be months, it actually could be years, hopefully not that long.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because there was a council member who argued in front of the Supreme Court, and it's been 3 years and they haven't made judgment on it. So he's like, I don't know how well I did.
Well, Jason and I think Jason and I both went to high school with a member of the Utah Supreme Court. Not that she would know who I am anyway, but I'll let her know we don't like the Inland Port. I won't. Okay, anything else? Anything else?
I'm done.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us while you're clearly on vacation in St. George. You might go running, but anyway.
Yes.
I hope you do. I hope you do get to go for a run. Okay, I've got some final stuff to say here. Oh, yeah, the Immigration Overlook. Hopefully everybody got to look at our minutes from that meeting, and I sent them to Kelsey to put on the official record, and she also forwarded them to Paul Nielsen. If you want to make comments, you can continue to send those to Kelsey. The online open house is still open as well. Our official letter is not written yet, but it will be soon. And as soon as it's written, I will send it to you. Our closing arguments here. Oh, geez. Sorry, guys. I want to say thanks to the graduating board members. Congratulations and welcome to the new board members. I want you all to go get COVID vaccines. I have my second one lined up for tomorrow, and I'm super excited. You can get a free gun lock from Salt Lake City Police Department, so please do get one because we want the guns here to be safe. We want people to be safe. Fix the bricks. Hey, if you're worried about an earthquake and your house injuring you in an earthquake, you need to go to Fix the Bricks and find out what you can do. There's money available to help you kind of get your house ready for the next earthquake. Also, Reimagine Nature is, you can go to that website there. Salt Lake City is rethinking its open spaces, like its parks, and it's just like wild open spaces, that kind of stuff. So you can go and tell them what you think is an important priority for us as residents. Anybody else want to say anything else at the end of our meeting today? Our next meeting is May, I think it's 19th. It's a Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's been great having you at this meeting. I appreciate everybody joining us. Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks.
Good job, Amy.
See you later.
Great job. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Bye, thank you.
What's up, Amy?
Hi, Anthony. Mark, are you still here?
He left quite a while ago.
Maybe his power went out again. So who's here? Brooke, Amy, Anthony, Katie? Hey, Katie, I asked Kelsey and they still haven't made a decision on the stealth tower yet.
No kidding.
She was
Do
gonna
they
tell
have a time frame that they have to get it in by?
Well, I mean, Martin told us last time that his argument was like on Friday and he found out on Monday, but the stealth one has not been answered yet, but Kelsey will send it to me when we have it.
That kind of sounds hopeful to me for on the
It
side
kind of
Brad.
does, me too. I thought they'd maybe immediately say no. And I asked Dennis, or I asked Dan about it and Dan thought that they said no. So, but hey, Brooke, you're the best.
Oh my gosh, I think you're the best. You
Are
just
you at work? What are you doing right now?
Oh my gosh, I just got to my office. At 3:30, my son and I met down at the dealership to buy a car. He's buying a car.
Oh, that's
And
fun.
we just finished.
It takes 4.5 hours to buy a car?
I believe it, Brooke. That's
Oh my-
painful. I didn't even think about having to do it for our kids someday. Oh my goodness.
Well, this is the first, he's 23, this is the first car he's buying,
Yeah.
and it's a big deal. And I thought, oh, I have plenty of time. No, so I'm standing in the dealership at 7:00,
Mhm.
being part of the meeting. So thanks for rolling with my crazy life.
That's a long time.
Way to multitask.
Yes. Yeah.
So your son's in the terrible 23s?
He's
22s?
he's seriously one of the nicest people I know.
Okay.
He's such a hard worker. I'm just such a proud mom.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my office. Have you guys seen this before?
Where
No,
where is
check it out.
Crazy office. I have the spot. It's on Social Hall downtown.
Oh yeah.
If you walk out the north doors of Harmon and walk right